Good day, you guys. It's Jeffrey Howells Carpet Cleaning, and we got ourselves a little bit of a mess to clean up in here, as far as this being kind of like a rental condo apartment duplex that we're going to be cleaning up. And surprisingly enough, a lot of times when you go through with your cleaning products, a lot of this stuff does come out of with just the initial clean. And then you can go back and spot whatever that doesn't come up. What a lot of carpet cleaners do is that they go ahead and they spot first and then clean. I tend to do the reverse because you never know what your cleaning product is actually going to remove from the carpeting. So there's no sense in wasting product on things that are going to come out with the cleaning. However, there is a bit of candy stuck to the floor, which I definitely know without a doubt is not going to come out unless it is specially treated. So what we're going to use to do this is that I'm going to put down some of the citrus to kind of help dissolve it. It is very a lot of residue. Typically don't use it, but when you're in a case where you're having to clean the carpets anyways, it's not a bad product to use because you're going to end up cleaning it anyways. So what I do with the candy is I put down the citrus soy because it helps to dissolve, and then I also put down, this is just a gel solvent, although the label isn't really visible on there. I do know what the product is, so we'll go ahead, we'll treat these little areas here again with the solvent, and then on top of it we'll put some gel on top of it, and that will just keep the gel and the solvent and stuff on there as long as possible, just kind of softening that stuff up. We will then take a blunt object and just kind of work the solvent and stuff just into the candy, just to help dissolve and break it down completely. And if it doesn't all completely break out of the carpeting, it'll just kind of like all disintegrate and turn to residue ooze that will just come out with the initial carpet cleaning. So anyways, that's the process that we're going to take here. Just go by one and take all those out. Of course, there's a lot of bleach in here. Those spots are not going to come out. There is a lot of red. I'm not expecting, I expect some of the red to come out with just the initial steam clean with our green carpet cleaning products, the sodium carbonate and peroxide cleaning solutions. A lot of it should come out, but there's definitely going to be some remaining. So yeah, we're just going to go ahead and get started here. Okay, so this is basically what I'm doing to all the little sticky tacky candy spots. Then I'm putting down the citrus soy, and I'm putting down some of the gel on top of it. So I'm just going to go through and treat all these little spots that are in here. Then I'm going to go back with this carpet shark, Pro's Choice carpet shark here. I'm just going to go through and agitate all of those, and it'll just help to break them down. So as this stuff is sitting there, it'll just keep loosening and softening this stuff up, so that when we go back through with a blunt object, it'll just deteriorate it and detach from the carpet fibers. And as you can see, with a little bit of agitation of just rubbing this in there, it pretty much breaks it all down. So technically we don't have to really do this probably. We run a CRB in here, it would probably, dissolve the stuff anyways, but I just like visually being able to see that, yeah, it's gone. So this is really all the process required to get this stuff up. This one was a little bit bigger, so probably going to require a little bit more soy to help break that down, but you can see that was a big nasty piece, and we're just going to continue working at it to get it up and out of the carpeting. You can see all the little sticky tacky stuff over there is completely dissolved and gone, so it'll clean up well. It always does. Okay, so here we go. It took about 8 minutes and we got every single little piece of candy up off the carpeting. Of course, the more you do it, the more efficient you become at it. The difference between the citrus solvent here and the turn it around, and you can't see the label on that one, of course. This is actually Hell Gel by Dackway, which is a very excellent non-residue leaving kind of a cleaner. They produce a whole bunch of in-cap products, so they crystallize and they don't like leave residue and stuff, so I like using them whenever I can. However, the BioClean citrus soy solvent is very high in residue, but it does an excellent job at dissolving stuff. So where you want to use a gel is when you need to leave the product to sit on, you know, some candy or whatever for a period of time, whereas the soy is just going to run off the candy and go into the carpet and kind of disappear. The gel is going to sit on top of the carpeting and be there until you start scrubbing at it. So what I found is you put down some soy and then you cover it up with some citrus solvent and it just kind of holds it in there. Does a really good job at helping to break things up. And then of course the serrated edge on the Pro's Choice Carpet Shark does a real good job of just helping to break down and get the citrus solvents and the gel into the candy and releasing it from the carpet fibers itself, and it dissolves it. And as you can see through here, everything is actually all dissolved. So right now we're going to go ahead and make up some chemical. I'll go ahead and walk you through that process of what we're going to be using, because we're dealing with a lot of organic spills and food and stuff of that nature that's up here, as well as a lot of synthetic stuff. So we'll go ahead and we'll make up some good stuff to kind of clean everything up in here, and then of course I'll return these things to our staining kit. Okay, and because the pre-vacuum was already done for us, that would have been phase 1 of our cleaning process. However, we're going to be moving on to phase 2. Generally, what we just did while I was doing phase 1 with a pre-vacuum, I'd be hunting around and looking for spots and things that we would have to pre-treat first, such as all that candy that we got up off the carpet already. And then afterwards, when we do the steam out afterwards, we'll come back in here and we'll take a look to see how much red stuff is still in here that needs to be pre-treated for additional spots. This might be a little bit, need some pre-treatment. However, I did notice that it was bleeding quite a bit as I was putting some citrus gel on it, so that might just come out with a little bit more gel and a rinse. That might just be candy. I don't know what that is. What would just cause something like that to bleed all over the place? It doesn't look very severe to me. So we're going to put down a very generous application of a pre-spray solution, and spray it down here really good, and then that will be phase 2 right there. So with this, we're going to just go ahead and very generously apply this to the carpeting like so. And then of course we'll probably, you know, put a little bit more additional on some of the spots that look like they might be able to benefit from a little bit more treatment there. Okay, moving on to phase 3. We did probably about a gallon, a little bit more than a gallon of pre-spray in here, just to get everything very well wet and start breaking down a lot of this residue and gunk that's in here. And in fact, a lot of the red is starting to fade. It may not get all of it, but you know, like I said, we'll come back and we'll post-treat whatever we feel like we need to post-treat. And that blue stuff there was completely just, when I was spraying, I could see the stuff just sloshing out all over the place. So I think it was, actually I don't want to say what it is because I don't have a clue, but it's very loose in the carpeting there. I have a feeling that's all going to rinse out, no problem. Other areas, oddly enough, this was the spot right in here, something spilled. And this is where the residue tacky feeling stuff was. And it wasn't even really visible, but this is their main concern here. Of course, wanting to get rid of a lot of this red stuff. I think it's going to rinse out because it already looks immensely, magnitudes better already. So we're going to go ahead and give this a good scrub. The way that this works is that we just step on that button like a vacuum cleaner, pull down the handle, engage the motors, the scrubbers are scrubbing, and we're just going to go over the surface of all the carpeting, the scrubbing action. Working that cleaning solution deep into the carpets and getting them nice and thoroughly scrubbed so that when we hook up our truck and steam clean, it all comes rinsing out very nicely. It's quite a drastic. I knew that a lot of this red was just going to come out with the peroxide, and a lot of it will just continue fading as the peroxide continues oxidizing the red. But this is after a pre-scrub. It looks a lot brighter than what it was, especially when you get that much crud out of the carpeting. So we were able to pull and lift all that up, which is something that vacuum cleaners don't get. So I know there was quite a debate online regarding the CRB, whether or not this is considered part of the same service as cleaning the carpet, or if it's additional or this and that. And it really has to do with how you purpose the tool and how you use it, because I probably spent a good 20-30 minutes just going back and forth, especially when I was seeing how much crud it was pulling out of the carpeting, and it was like, okay, it really needs it. So what this will allow is that the carpets will be a lot brighter, which they already are a lot brighter. They'll be a lot softer, they'll dry, and the fibers won't be all matted and stuck together because we got all that nasty stuff that was kind of binding and holding the carpet fibers together out of here. So it'll just be a lot more pleasant in here, probably better odor and everything else. So do what you gotta do. This is kind of up and beyond just agitation. One guy was saying, well, you have to agitate regardless, so you shouldn't charge any extra. And it's like, okay, so you're comparing manual agitation with mechanical agitation and basically calling them the same. And no, they're completely different types of agitation. One is agitating the carpet at 475 revolutions per minute, and the other one's only moving as fast as you're moving your arms. So, yeah, there's quite a bit of difference, especially when you're talking about the investment in a tool like this. This is the larger, like 20-incher Brush Pro system. It was probably like, I think they're still marked up there around $3,000. I've had this one for about 5-6 years. The price really hasn't fluctuated at all on them. I know you can get 10-inchers. A 10-inch one is more convenient in small areas, especially if you're doing steps. But I was listening to a lot of people complain about how their 10-incher is really a lot of work when they're going room to room, and that they can't really do a whole wall-to-wall in the home very easily because it's so time-consuming. So right there, it really depends on your use of how you're using the tool and what you're using it for. So one person's pat answer for what they should be charging or doing with the machine is going to be different than somebody else's answer, what they're purposing the machine for and how they're using it. Because I do use this machine for more than just agitation. I use it for hair removal, I use it for lint removal, and obviously all that lint and hair and matting junk right there was not going to come out unless I ran the CRB over it and extracted all that stuff. And it did take quite a few passes to get all that up, but it does come up. Alright, so we're back downstairs and we're going to move into phase 2 downstairs with the pre-spray application. And as you can see, there's a whole bunch of furniture down here. So we kind of pushed everything to one side for now. And what I'm going to do with phase 2 is go ahead and pre-spray this area, open area that we can, and then we'll move on to phase 3 and give it a good scrub. And then we'll probably go ahead and steam out the upstairs and down here. Push all the furniture over. As you can see, these are plastic feet, so we're not going to have to be too concerned with the furniture being on white carpet at all. The one thing that we do have to be concerned of are the wood feet on the dining room table, but you can see we've been here several times before, and they have a set of our sliders permanently under their table, so they get to benefit by the ease of moving the table around, and I get to benefit by the ease of moving the table around because the sliders are already there. So I mentioned in another video that it's worth the investment just to put out the 50 cents for these things and just give them to your customers, because they'll use them and you'll use them, and they will help you out in the long run. So that's the plan. So without further ado, we're just going to go ahead and commence with the pre-spray application. Okay, so having gone over just this section, which is probably maybe half the room, maybe a little bit more, it does look a lot cleaner. We got a lot of the matted, tangled, nasty stuff out of there. And just in that one small area, we got a pretty good clump of nasty gunk out of the carpeting. So that's what attributes to that nice matted look, as you can see in the areas that we haven't cleaned with the CRB compared to the areas that we did. There's just a whole bunch of matted filth in these carpets that literally become invisible. The carpets are feel pretty smashed and hard to the ground, yet when you walk over here it's quite a bit softer. There's a lot more give under your foot as you're walking around, because the carpeting can actually move freely and spring back to its normal position instead of being restricted by that nasty stuff there. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and bring our hoses and lines in, set things up, fire up the truck, and get moving on to phase 4. Once we extract upstairs and down in this area here, we'll go ahead, move furniture over to the side of the room, and go ahead and continue on with phase 2 pre-spray application on this side of the room. Phase 3 mechanical agitation with the CRB, as well as purposing for matted hair removal, and we'll probably get at least to have that much more out of the carpeting. Okay, in phase 3, what we do is we go ahead and we use hot water to rinse the carpets free. And because we did a very thorough scrubbing beforehand, we don't need to be using 400 pounds or 600-700 pounds of water to get them to come clean. You're only using about 400 maybe max. Did a very good job. And then after we go over the carpets, then we very carefully, very thoroughly go back and do a dry pass, which picks up more moisture off the carpeting, as well as more debris that's in the carpeting as well. So carpet cleaners is just fly by, seat of their pants, going as fast as they possibly can, are missing all kinds of crud in the carpeting, and then are dubbed as hacks. So if you hire a $79 hack to come in and clean the carpets, they're basically not doing anything except getting your carpets wet. Alright, so I got all the furniture moved over. It turned out, it looks absolutely beautiful over there, except for like a red drink spill. We're not getting those up. But we do have about another gallon or so of solution, so we're going to go ahead and pre-spray this last section. Maybe it's a little bit more than a half, maybe a little bit less than a half, maybe it's more like a third or something like that, a third of the room right here. We're going to go ahead and pre-spray that with our solution, and we're moving on to phase 3, and then we will agitate it real well. And then run our lines and hoses over here and give us a good steam out, and I think we'll be good to go. Looks like there's a little bit of food droppage here along the counter. That didn't get vacuumed up, but we'll be sure to pick it up with the CRB. We'll get it no problem. When you're purposing the CRB for lint and hair removal, personally, what I like to do is I like to do it after I pre-spray, because what it does is that it causes all the lint and hair to stick to the underside of your CRB. So after you go through the carpeting, you can just flip the machine over, run your finger under there, pull all that hair off, spin the wheels, and then it gives you an idea as to how much more hair and lint could still be in the carpeting and whether or not you should go over it again. Now, I'm going over this like a fine-tooth comb back and forth. And you can tell by the lines and how close they are together. I'm probably doing like a 85 to 90% overlap on here just to get it thoroughly as we possibly can with the brushes, just to pick up as much of that lint and nasty debris in the carpeting as possible. So having gone over our space very thoroughly for the second time, let's go ahead, we flip this guy over and we're just kind of get a feel for how much debris is still in there. What I do is I just run my fingers down here, run my fingers down here. Then you can see a lot of gunk collects in the back there. And that is a considerable amount of gunk just for this one little area here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over it one more time just to get as much of this out as possible. And then I did notice that there's one more spot of probably the slime that kids play with. So all I have to do is just put a little bit of solvent down there. Let it chew it up, run the CRB over it. It'll be out of here and then we'll steam it out. Okay, we're going to call that good. We got thoroughly way more than what a typical carpet cleaning would possibly ever get out of the carpeting. And in just this one little spot there's a gunk right there. That's quite a bit for just maybe 50, 60, 70 square feet of carpeting. So glad to have gotten that out.